All right. A few minutes late, but we're here. Welcome to the playground, everybody. I'm Pixie Phoenix. I'm a variety streamer here on Twitch. Tonight is Vampire the Masquerade, Philly by Night. I think we're in session 47? Yes. Tonight I'm joined by my storyteller Knox, Scott, who plays Idaho, Zack, who plays Vic, Martha plays Michael, and I am Al. So, we've been gone a week. So, how is everybody?
I mean, I just drove almost 24 hours straight, so
Hmm.
so this is going to be an interesting.
Time to take advantage of the story
evening.
You don't remember what happened last time? We
Yeah, we all got 500 XP and took over the city. Remember?
I actually do remember what happened the very last time that any of the coterie was together, and I think that some people will be very interested in hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So, since we often joke about how, even though we're at session 47, how we've been doing this for a lot longer, while I was on my downtime, I actually did count out all the sessions, and this is actually our 65th session together tonight.
Hello.
In either between solos, duos, and the actual group together. So we have actually been doing this over a year now together.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So congratulations to all of us, and hopefully for many more years to come.
Oh yeah.
Or until all of you die. I mean,
yeah. And yeah, I still am interested in setting up a little happy hour mixer situation. I just need to find out what nights work well for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do.
So, shall we do a bit of a recap?
Definitely.
They're gonna need it.
Everybody's
You're tired. We're tired. Everybody's been cleaning
Everybody's
house all day.
I have no idea what happened. So we'll start.
I think I just went to sleep and woke up stupid.
What happened at the very end? As that session ended, Alice talked to her SEPTA bar clientele and saw a photo of artwork of the lighthouse that she saw in her dream. Vic and Idaho headed to a local racetrack equestrian holding area and were able to take advantage of the residents there to get bags of blood for Nawal, although they did come across a strange old man who told them they were on somebody else's domain. Michael and Haddonfield hunted in the beacon, and as he was doing so, Michael overheard Ruby accepting an invitation to check out something called the Cinder Institute. That was the end of that session. In between then and now, Alice and Vic had a duo session. Pursuing a lead from something that they found in Kai's former apartment. The pair ended up heading to Guilt and meeting with Sabine, who told them that they had information on who murdered Kai and where they could be found. In exchange, of course, for a pair of minor boons. Accepting the deal, the Sabine got in touch with a contact and was able to tell them that the one-armed man who murdered Kai was told where she was by the Northeast Anarchs. But while she found this information out, she was able to procure a location for where this one-armed man was. Heading to the location, Vic and Al engaged him, although not before Vic decided to throw a dumpster through a building.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying, right?
And they were able to disable him, but not before suffering wounds themselves. Taking the man back to the beacon, Al and Vic were assisted by Lane and Rhea, who put the torpid vampire right into the furnace.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Now we just need to snort his ashes.
Now we need to find the rat because we got two people that were in here. He's not the rat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that other one just, whoa, that was really weird. That guy is really freaking me out.
So, with all of that said, welcome everyone to our Monday night Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition Chronicle, Philly by Night, Session 47. It has been, we'll say, a pair of nights. So for Vic and Alice is the next night. For Michael and Idaho, it will have been 2 nights since we were all together. So, as always, before we do anything, let's do some housekeeping.
I don't know if you mean to be, Martha, but you're still muted. So, okay. Must have been talking to yourself. I saw lips moving. I was like, what's she doing?
So that guy turns into rats, right?
Ooh.
He turned into rats when you were fighting him, right, Vic?
Yeah.
And I
We absorbed his hand. I ripped his hand off.
Yeah.
And it turned into a rat, and he just like walked away with it.
And I can command rats, right? So,
The issue there, of course, being that the rats, those are not normal rats. Those are actually
supernatural rats.
Yeah, those are actually him.
Illusions.
So it's more. I was about to say it's more illusionary kind of thing.
All right, everybody getting a little hangry here today.
no.
I had success.
Just me and the Baron.
I was 6 and a success.
So, for record, so everybody knows exactly who is hangry this morning or this evening. Michael is at a 2, Idaho is at a 3, Alice is at a 2, and Vic is at a 2.
Let's bump that up.
So,
yeah, Al finally roused the blood because she had that thing on her that she was at 0 hunger until she like roused the blood. She gained three dots of hunger at once.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that was rough. That was
That's
rough.
one way to do it.
And then she decided that she was going to attempt to gain some insight on something, and ended up sticking an acid-coated knife into her mouth. So
That's so punk rock. I love it.
yeah, she didn't think it was punk rock at the time. She was like, "Ah, my face, my face."
Damn. So what state are Vic and Al in right now? Are they in like this healing state because they got in that big old fight?
I don't think what we got was
because you guys. The reason why you're both at higher hunger is because you did at the end of that session,
right?
Rouse to heal. In fact, the only person who has suffered any sort of damage is Michael, who has. Oh, excuse me. I'm looking at humanity. Never mind.
See.
Okay, so it is a brand new evening. We will assume that everybody is meeting up in the apartments and has exchanged information about all of their variety of adventures since the last time that they saw. So, what is the next step? What do you guys, how are you starting this evening together?
Well, I guess we would have already filled Michael and Idaho in on most of that night. The other
How you like to
loose
juggle dumpsters?
Yep. The other loose end there is the Northeast Anarchs have now basically put a hit out on us.
And we can't maintain power if we let that stand.
So to explain that a little bit more, it wasn't so much that they put a hit out on you,
But
They just sold us out.
but
Yeah.
the one-armed man went to them for information on where to find Kai and us. I mean, essentially, also that would have to include you guys,
Right.
and so for whatever he traded, and you don't know, they gave him that information. So the night that they showed up in your club to collect their thin bloods, as they called them, the night was also the night that Kai died. So, and if you remember correctly, they were the ones who told you about it.
Yeah.
So
They probably led him there and then came and told us.
it's not a far conclusion to suspect that.
Either way, we have to. We can't let this slide, or else we look like we just roll over and take shit. Like anybody can come and piss in our yard.
Yeah.
Kind of want some more soldiers.
So I was
Michael's
saying
wanting to expand the army.
We need more ghouls.
Yeah, we need a couple more soldiers of the thing. What do you need? What's your matter?
Well, we've already mostly exposed Robin to the life.
She's seen a lot.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm still figuring this whole thing out. You know, we've got a lot of ghouls, but I mean,
So okay, so would you like a little bit of kindred insight here?
maybe I was actually trying to do something a little bit IC, like Idaho talking to the rest of the crew.
Oh, okay, then go for it.
So I'm still trying to figure this out. You know, we got a lot of ghouls, but I mean, I know Al, when you made Ruby into a vampire, that didn't turn out all that great. But I mean, we got another vampire. I mean, if we're just trying to increase our numbers, why don't we make more vampires?
We can try. We might just get half-bloods.
Okay, now
You have to remember Ruby wasn't it? It wasn't like we intended to make her a vampire. It was just out of necessity, like in order to keep her alive from her wounds.
Mm-hmm.
totally understand. But if we're thinking of increasing our numbers, I mean, aren't vampires stronger than ghouls?
So I will give you a semi meta discussion about that. That really depends on age. Ghouls, particularly long-lived ghouls, will, of course, to a kindred that is equal age, will never be on par. But a ghoul that has been around for, say, 50 or 60 years and has gotten a hang of the lifestyle and has been getting regular feedings, can easily be on par for basically a neophyte or newborn vampire, because they're gonna. That's just skill versus youth. And ghouls, given enough time, can actually learn disciplines. So it's one of those things where that is certainly a way to do it. Relative to, so here's the other thing. Relative to the number of ghouls that you actually have, you guys don't actually have all that many ghouls. Most barons and princes have tons of ghouls, retainers of ghouls. They have, and the ghouls themselves then are get in on the recruitment and have their own foot soldiers involved. It becomes a little bit of a pyramid scheme.
Sounds good.
So I guess now to step out of character, basically what Idaho is asking is if we're considering adding to our troops. So we would be talking about a 1 day old whatever. Other than just judging the character of the person, why wouldn't we just try to make vampires? And what I'm trying to dance around, because I don't know how much Idaho knows this, is obviously if you're too low of a generation and you make a vampire, it could be a half-blood. Or it could be a thin blood. Sorry, Harry Potter.
We don't apologize to that woman ever again.
No,
We never apologize.
Hey, I apologize to Harry Potter.
The fictional character.
Wait, whoa, he's
Who would
Also
be
porn
called?
star.
Who would be called one of those?
Wait a minute, he's fictional? I don't know how to react right now. So, but Idaho might say to himself, okay, like if I made a vampire, there's a chance it could be a thin blood. Obviously, Al made a vampire and it's a thin blood, but are Vic and Michael older? Could they make a vampire that's not a thin blood? You know, he doesn't, I don't think he knows that kind of stuff.
Michael might be.
I don't think
this
Michael
part
is,
of the
but
initial issue that most people who have been trying to like turn even high-ranking vampires have only been coming up with thin bloods.
So here is, and I would say this is information that you would have, Michael. So this is kind of a bit of information. It is only in the 13th generation that you're almost that it's basically a coin flip on whether or not you're going to get a thin blood or a full blown vampire. Anything after that tends to run strictly into, like, if you get lucky enough to be a 14th generation kindred, you're not procreating after that. All you're doing is making thin bloods. Above that, however, vampires that are 9th, 10th, 11th generation have no problem siring new kindred. 12th generation tends to get a little iffy. 13th generation, again, tends to be about a coin flip. So that is, of course, a thing. The other part of that, and this is worth mentioning, not all bloodlines are the same. So, for instance, some members of the Hekata, some of the internal bloodlines within that clan, have more difficulty creating more members than other ones of them. Some of them don't have any problem at all procreating. It's because their generations are so close together that some of them, even brand new ones, are still only 10th generation vampires. They just haven't procreated that much. And those that have lived so long that they haven't felt the need to.
yeah.
On the other hand, every Toreador and their mother has had fucking a beautiful fling that they just couldn't possibly live without. So there's tons of Toreadors running around.
Things could be worse.
They always say they can't live without them, and then they change them, and then it's, I probably could have lived without this.
Yeah.
So theoretically, I would be fine to sire. I'd have a really good shot since I'm 11th generation.
If you sink your fangs into somebody and give them your blood, you're almost guaranteed to end up with a 12th generation Toreador.
Right. Okay. So with that information, I guess
You build your own fashion house.
Yeah.
Ooh. I
vampire.
see a sparkly future for this club.
I see a side business here.
So
Bordello.
With that information, I guess what Idaho kind of is asking is, if we're trying to increase the number of troops because we're anticipating that kind of activity or that kind of violence, or we need that kind of strength, do we want to make more ghouls, or would it be better for Michael to make more children?
Maybe the answer is not one or the other, but both.
Or isn't one more of a direct violation of the Masquerade?
No, I mean, I was actually kind of interested in having a lot more ghouls around right off the bat, but knowing whether or not we could maybe elevate some of our more worthy ghouls to vampires, seeing like giving the idea that there is
promote from
room to
within.
grow.
Sorry, I'm just seeing all of what we do in the shadows. You know, the guy who's been waiting for like
Poor Guillermo.
Poor
Poor Guillermo.
Poor Guillermo.
He can't.
You think he's gonna have fun after when the new series
Helsing.
starts?
He's a Van Helsing. He can't return. He's a vampire hunter.
So
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just
Not
made that
like
up.
others. There's
What are
for others
you guys
out there.
talking about? What
It
show?
has been out for a hot minute. Come on.
I have no idea. I just watched Star Wars. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
as long as somebody will loan me their season 2 Firefly DVDs.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Just wanted to get that steak right.
Let me see an X in the chat. Anybody wants Firefly brought back?
Mandela
Yes.
Where's Wash?
So here is another semi just thing that Michael would know. The big difference between a ghoul and a brand new kindred is one of those is basically controllable.
The ghoul.
A ghoul will, because if you don't give a ghoul blood,
Right.
they will revert back to being human, and if they're old enough, it will eventually kill them.
Right.
As opposed to a brand new kindred where
they're dealing with a beast for the first time.
Get off my keyboard! Oh my god!
Yeah,
well, also with that idea of like I say, promoting from within is that we have built relationships with these people. It would be pretty hard pressed to think that if we turn Moira, that she's just going to turn around and start fucking around.
And that was going to be my next question. Like, is there a similar effect for turning a fresh person from like an elder ghoul? Like, it has to be a difference.
No, so the way the kindred are made the same no matter what.
Okay.
Now, not to rain on your parade, Al, but it's worth mentioning that the last time that you saw a ghoul get turned to a kindred was Andrea. And she was exceptionally loyal and exceptionally, faithful to the group right up until she turned into a kindred, at which point, granted, traumatic experiences notwithstanding, she quickly pursued her own ends.
Yeah, that's a shame. She was a great asset.
I always thought of her as slightly rebellious anyway, but
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I didn't think that like even though she was like supremely loyal as a ghoul to us, her attitude was not the same as like Amora's attitude, where Moira is proactively looking out for us.
Romano's attitude, yeah.
She was more like a weapon, just point and shoot.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we got her from the Camarilla, so her loyalty shifted pretty quick.
Right, like
She
again,
started out as a camp, yeah.
a really like functional. She was our pit bull on a leash, and then we got rid of that leash.
Yeah, and she made no bones about how she felt about her time in the Camarilla.
Exactly.
She was not happy about it.
So what you're saying is we should bring Slade into the inner circle.
No, I don't trust him.
Now,
Why would you trust him?
So here is the.
He just wants the free drugs.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that. So thin bloods can become full-blooded kindred. They just have to diablerize a full-blooded kindred.
Oh.
I actually thought about that would be one way.
So they'd have to like literally diablerize. Somebody else.
They have to. So, and what happens when they do that is they go up one generation, and then become the clan that they
diablerized.
And then they retain any disciplines or abilities that they have, but they lose all of their thin blood stuff.
I had a plan to diablerize that one-armed dude. I was gonna do it, and he turned his blood into poison or acid, like right
before.
Man, awesome. But yeah, that was gonna be coming, and then he did that, and I was like, man.
I wonder if he could like read your mind.
Well, back when the Scourge thing was really bad with hunting the thin bloods, it even crossed Idaho's mind that one way to protect Ruby is to turn her into a full-blood vampire.
Right. To have her diablerize somebody, but who would we have her diablerize?
That's
Charles.
Yeah, Charles and Shaw at the same time.
One could dream.
She'll go Super Saiyan.
So, Michael, you would know this, although it might only be from rumors. Diablerizing a kindred that is roughly the same level as you is likely to just be to gain what they have, their experiences, their starting to diablerize further up the chain. You run the risk of them taking you over.
But you don't actually upgrade unless you go up the chain.
And
Well, I
there
guess the idea is you're supposed to go up the chain slowly. If you try to leapfrog too much, you might just lose it.
end up being the new host for
Got it.
For Kane, like Idaho is.
So,
boss, you want me to head to the zoo and ghoul a bunch of tigers?
Shit. Let's do it.
happened in Miami.
I mean, that's the loudest way to get some tigers when there's so many like
We could
backyard breeders in Jersey.
We can go to a pound and just get some dogs.
No, it's Philadelphia. All we got to do is go to Camden. It's right there. Find somebody who's like got a tiger cub.
I actually, to be a little more serious, I actually thought about that. Like if we, I've got the animal kin.
Legitimately, like I'm being legitimate. Like the laws in New Jersey are very lax for wild animal containment. Texas, Florida, New Jersey, Georgia. There's a couple other states, New Mexico. But yeah, so most of the ones in Manhattan come from Jersey. In fact, that Jersey is where they have the half wolf, half dog like reserve and like other like big cat reserves too up there. So Jersey's probably a really good bet to get like a wild animal cub that we could eventually ghoul.
Well, what I was thinking also was kind of like Idaho's thoughts on firearms.
Yeah.
If we had 5 or 10 ghouled dogs protecting the apartment, is that beneficial or are they just fodder? Will vampires just come in and kill them? You know what I mean? Does it do any good to have an army of ghouled animals protecting the apartment?
Are you asking in character or is this a meta discussion?
This is kind of in character, but I don't know if Michael would know the answer to that or not.
With your animalism, I have no idea. I have no idea about this one.
So here is what I will tell you that you know, Idaho, from your own skills and from Brutus. Brutus is much more resilient. He's much more intelligent. He is, able to better intuit what you want. When he can't intuit what you want, it's easier to communicate with him to get what you want out of him. You are reasonably sure that in a pinch, if it was you and a human, or even a group of humans, Brutus would be able to hold his own. Against another vampire, maybe a delaying tactic at best.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of, because it seems like, sorry.
Now, I was going to say, on the flip side of that is you have also seen what a wave of rats can do to a kindred to fend them off. So,
just ghoul 1,000 rats.
Well, so what I was going to say is, so if you had, like, say, a pack of dogs,
working together,
then say having one dog attacking a kindred is likely to get them just knocked the fuck away. If somebody, if you've got the dogs from John Wick 3, attacking, multiple angles and stuff like that, at some point, big enough predator, it's still going to do damage.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be that big of a predator. If we're talking about like 500 cats in an alleyway is terrifying, sharp, nasty thing to deal with.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ghoul an army of chihuahuas.
I was thinking like dire wolves. Ooh.
Yeah, so that
chihuahuas. Somebody shows up with a lawnmower.
No. City foxes. Go after the city foxes and the trash pandas.
Army of raccoons.
Not a bad idea if we got a hold of some decent sized dogs and I ghouled them up, and because of the animal kin, we had like a little pack of dogs at our disposal for whatever might come up. So that's worth pursuing. Okay.
It also might be worth pursuing if we open it up to the to our goals, the possibility of expanding our numbers and see who they would like to invite on and who is interested in possibly promotion.
Mm. Yeah, you also
not every ghoul might want that.
You also might be able to gauge
choice.
You also might be able to gauge someone on how they would react to that invitation. Like if they're a little too eager, maybe they're not a good idea to turn.
And I mean, Idaho, you have an excellent recruitment person out there already looking.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. So
babies, give her babies. Don't give her babies. She wants babies.
I don't think we want to have to deal with those babies, though.
Kink bingo, breeder, square one of the evening.
I
mean, she was looking after Abby. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm still curious what I'm still kind of curious what she has in mind. I imagine we'll figure that out at some point. I still keep saying, yeah, okay, and then it just doesn't happen. So
she wants all the babies.
It's so weird. It's just so bizarre.
She wants babies.
And she wants you to be the daddy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how loyal they would be. That's another thing. So, and I have definitely noticed that. That is a good point that Knox makes, and we can just, I guess, maybe assume that Michael made in character that you can control a ghoul, but you can't always control a vampire.
Right. They are of their own accord, especially depending on like who sires them and like.
Unless you blood bond them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that's another danger though, isn't it? It's like two-wayed.
It's not two-wayed, but it's so. And I'll say you would know this, Michael. Blood bonding a vampire is just short of slavery.
Being the Philly loved love anarch vampire, cold American, doesn't feel right.
And there are multiple stories throughout Kindred history of Kindred who were blood bonded and who then escaped their blood bonds, and the very first thing that they did was exact revenge on the people who had them.
Enslaved. No, you don't say. Yeah, not Michael's
jam. I'm so shocked.
Totally not Michael's jam at all. He's like, if you don't want to be here, I don't fucking want you around.
That's right.
So
we have the four of us. We have Ruby. We have what's the guy's name that drove my car?
Harvey.
Harvey. We have the Nos
in pieces.
No. The Nos who hangs out in our club all the
time. Brittany.
Am I missing anybody? Vampires that we have in our group besides the
Haddonfield?
Whatever. Is Haddonfield like part of our crew now, or what?
I don't know where his loyalties really lie, honestly. So
yeah. But is he still squatting at our place? I mean, he's still living with us?
I think so. He was last we were all together. I think so.
Okay. And we have the Tremere we could probably call on if we actually wanted to go to the Northeast Anarchs and start some shit. We should see if the Tremere would want to come with us.
Was Threnody still hanging out here too? Threnody would I know she's not part of our
yeah
but I trust her more than I trust Haddonfield.
Yeah. So whatever. So we brought the horse blood back. Did we not use it yet?
I would say that yes, you have started to give it to Noel, but I mean, given that when you guys retrieved Noel in torpor, she was as fucked up as you've seen any vampire survive. That she is still she's still effectively in torpor and recovering.
So yeah, it's going to take some time, but we started that. Is Threnody getting any better yet?
Threnody is now walking. She is still hanging about, but she is within a day or so. You think of
being back.
Of departing or attempting to head to someplace to attempt to figure out what she's going to do. And of course, anytime anybody talks to her, almost always her first question out of her mouth is, "Have you heard from Raoul?"
That's my question too.
And have we?
No.
What about, have we heard, did the Tremere ever find their missing person?
No.
Damn.
And they are getting more and more upset about it. The fact that Adelaide is missing.
So I guess the stuff on our plate could be, we could help the Tremere look for their person. That would endear them more to us, I would assume. We could
look good
up the Northeast Anarchs. We could go chase Al's lighthouse. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of concerned about Raoul and the missing people anyway too, because what's it been like 3 nights now?
Right. I feel like we can do a couple of these things at the same time, with like reinforcing our own lines while helping out Threnody, and maybe like figuring out a way to confront the Northeasterners. See if Threnody is willing to get on our side with that.
Well, let's go talk to her.
So is that where everybody's heading, or are we doing more split scenes?
Do you want me to? I can. Let me contact Sunny. Maybe she can help us figure out where some of these people might be, and then I can join you guys with Threnody when I get done with that.
Ask her about Gigi while you talk to her, because
he's a bitch. What do you mean? What do I need to ask? I'm still burned. I still feel so pissed off over that.
Okay, so Idaho is going to go call Sunny to find out what's going on. Vic, what are you doing?
If Michael wants me to round up the ghouls just so we can pose, the question, you fill them in on what's going on, I can do that.
Are you guys actually gonna make this like a group thing? Like you're gonna get everybody in a room and be like, "So who wants to be a vampire?"
No. Like
lottery.
We're talking about ghouls first.
Right. That's what I'm saying. To go get all the ghouls into a room and say, "Who wants to be a vampire?"
Vampire lottery.
Guillermo, what are you doing? Get out of here.
Go repaper the windows.
Wow. He might have been the one who killed Kai, actually. Anyway.
Now that's a different thing. Michael still is going to try and check his voicemails and stuff like that, see if anything else has come in information-wise. Where's Haddonfield at the moment? Is he still with us?
Haddonfield is hanging about, but he seems kind of listless and kind of restless.
Okay. And Ruby is still basically not acting out anymore.
Ruby has healed somewhat from her wounds. She is now walking around without a crutch, although her multiple gut wounds, she is still healing from them.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one might say there's still a bit of an issue there, but in terms of the big stuff, she's fine. Al, what are you gonna do?
I think I would be assisting Michael in this process, narrowing down.
Okay, so just to recap, so everybody knows what everybody else is doing here. So Vic, Michael, and Alice are basically attempting to figure out who in the group is viable for an upgrade, shall we say. Because not everybody can go from Windows XP to Windows 11.
Right, and we're also trying to figure out like who would be really good to start like recruiting efforts amongst non-ghoul individuals.
We should give Robin. I think Robin would just a great.
I think so too. But considering her reaction, we've had to like erase her mind.
Well, she kind of got turned up to 11,
like real fast.
Real fast.
Now my question is, now that had gone, like that trauma response and the erasure has happened, what is the likelihood of like slowly onboarding her without redamaging me?
I don't even know how it works when you decide to ghoul somebody. I assume you have to tell them what's going on. I mean, I don't even know.
No. So the way that ghouls are made, so we'll have that discussion. So ghouls are made by just giving blood. So when when you're embracing somebody, generally speaking, you're draining them to almost dead, and then replacing their blood with your vitae, which is technically their blood. What the fuck ever, it doesn't really matter. Yes, it breaks the laws of physics in terms of energy exchange, but whatever. But with ghouls, a ghoul is just if you just give a human enough vampire blood, they will actually turn into a ghoul. And it doesn't have to be from the same donor. Like a ghoul can get their blood as long as they're getting blood from someone. They will continue to stay as a ghoul. As a complete non sequitur, but as a kind of cool bit of VTM lore, once upon a time there was a vampire hunter who was exceptional at his job, and the reason why he was so exceptional at his job is because before he killed them, he'd take their blood, and he would drink the blood himself. So he was basically just short of being a vampire himself, and eventually, he was so dangerous that the Camarilla decree regarding him was that no one was to go near him, that he needed to be left alone, and they basically were like, we'll just wait until he dies of old age. Because if we try to fight him, he's just going to get stronger, and he's going to kill whoever we send. Mm-hmm. So we just need to leave him alone.
Avoid at all costs.
And that was actually the decree.
Hide if possible, run preferably.
Yeah, the decree from the Camarilla was that even engaging him at all was a final death decree immediately on any kindred. Everyone was to stay away from him because he was such a problem.
Wow.
And just don't poke the fucking bear anymore.
And of course, nobody fucking did. Every single time. Somebody was like, but I'll be the one who kills him. And he was
oh,
so,
stupid last words.
My question really wasn't about the mechanics. It was more, Robin has no idea that vampires exist or any of this stuff. So bringing someone in, does that involve telling them what's going on and then you ghoul them, or do you ghoul them and you keep them in the dark, or you know what I mean? It's more like, how do you introduce someone to this world psychologically, not the mechanics of because I'd imagine you could ghoul someone and not even tell them what's going on, and they just really love you and feel great all the time.
It's happened.
So it was more like kind of like that, like, I guess, how do we go about introducing her to what's actually going on? And Idaho has no experience in that. So anyway.
Did you have the mind wiper?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you did, Al? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Al Flashy Finger.
So, to reiterate,
okay.
Vic, Michael, and Al are getting together to attempt to decide who's going to be eligible for an upgrade. Idaho is going to go call Sunny. Okay, so a little bit of a split scene here for just a second. Idaho, when you call Sunny, she picks up immediately. Okay. She's like, before you say anything, she says, I am not alone.
Okay.
So whatever you
That's cool.
say, just telling you up front, and they know that I'm telling you this. So
Are they hearing me right now?
yes.
Okay. I was actually calling about some kind of run-of-the-mill non-cosmic business.
She goes, okay, what do you got?
I was just curious if we could get some assistance to try to locate some missing people.
She goes, who's missing? What's going on?
We got, who's missing? Raul and what's her name?
Eileen?
Adelaide.
Hildebranch.
No, she died in a building fire.
Okay. So basically, I will just say these are two people. I mean, you probably know who Raul is. You might even know what happened to him. I don't know if you know who Adelaide is or whatever her name was. But basically, this is kind of just like a hunt down a missing person thing, that kind of job.
Sunny kind of, she goes, I have no idea who the second person is.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I have information on Raul, however.
Okay.
She says, which makes this nice and easy, as Gigi wants to meet with you.
Oh, well, I've been wanting to meet with Gigi, or we've been wanting to meet with Gigi for several days. I believe the locale was more the issue.
She says, I'm sure the locale is still going to be the issue, but the invitation is open to come, and I will meet you at our usual spot and escort you in.
Well, I'm gonna have to pass this on to the boss. This is not my decision. But so you're saying that's the trade for the Raul information, or do we get to do that deal on the side?
She says, I would prefer to tell you that information in person.
Yeah, that's good with me. I would love to see all you guys. It's just, again, the locale is a little iffy, in my opinion.
She goes, unfortunately, this is just like you have a boss, I have a boss, and this is not my choice. So she says, but we do have some information, not all the information, but some information for you about your missing Bruja.
Okay. As far as the other person is concerned, if it's possible, I'd love to try to get together some information that might help you find out if, maybe you can figure something out, find out what's going on with this person. If there's anything I can give you that would help you do that, I would love to pursue that as well.
She goes, what person?
The second person, Adelaide, the Tremere thing.
There's kind of a moment you think you can hear some muffled voices whispering, but you can't really make it out. Sunny comes back. She goes, sure. She goes, will we be able to, were we expecting you tonight?
I don't know. Let me go talk to Michael.
She goes, okay, give me a call back.
All right, cool. And then I'll head over to where they are.
Okay, so now, not split scene. Okay, so Vic, Michael, Al, where are you guys?
Probably office. Actually, I assume we wouldn't. I don't know.
Conference room.
This out in the conference. I don't know.
Now, when you say that, are you saying the office at the Beacon or in the apartments?
Probably in the apartments, because we're in the conference. We're already in the apartments right now, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
apartments.
Okay, so then everybody is at the conference room in the apartments. So how are you going to handle this? And then once we tell me how you're going to handle this, then we can.
I'm going to take I think I'm just going to take the lead. And it's just going to be like our ghouls around, right?
Who are you specifically bringing to the conference room?
Romano.
Clyde, Romano, Moira, stuff like that.
Are you bringing
Lane?
Lane?
Yeah.
What about Ruby and Harvey?
Aren't they? They're already Thin Bloods, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a friend.
I really don't think there's much of a
choice.
Yeah,
it's mainly more about like addressing our goals and saying if they're like who they're wanting to recruit, lighten the load, make this a safer place for everybody, and running their own teams.
Okay, so then just so everybody is aware of who is going to be in the room, it will be the four of you plus Romano, Clyde, Moira, Rhea, and Lane.
Okay.
I'd probably bring Ruby in on this.
Yeah.
Okay, are you also going to call Ruby in?
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
Okay.
Not the dog. We gotta get the dog. We're gonna vamp the dog.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, Brutus is ready.
This will end very poorly for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So you have recruited all of these people into the room. Idaho, are you going to say anything before this gets underway, or are you?
Well, I figure it's underway when I show up, so I wouldn't just burst in and tell them what I exchanged with Sunny. I would just join the conversation and tell them when the opportunity arises. So let's just do this thing first.
Okay, so since you're taking lead, Michael, how are you going to bring this topic up?
I'm going to start off with saying, we've been talking about getting more hands so you carry a lot more of the nitty-gritty load around here, and like how we've had a little bit of a more pressure. I think some more bringing on more skilled players would be like what everybody's hoping for right now. Like, and be like Clyde, I'm sure, having some more ghouls around so you don't have to always clean up after us would be great.
Thank you. Finally.
Oh, he's always going to be the janitor.
He's going to be the executive janitorial services.
Engineer. That makes it sound fancy.
Exactly. Janitorial engineer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the pay at the Ivory Tower has to be better than this shit.
Nah. There's so much more fun here. No. But seriously, so like I'm gonna be like some more guys. Like, do you have any off the top of your head that you think would be great additions to the family?
Lane immediately basically is like, she's kind of like shakes her head and she's like, either you need to bring Robin in on what's going on, or you need to kick her the fuck out, because Lane just seems flabbergasted. She's like, she is like flypaper for assholes, and if you don't do something about it, or at least let her know what the fuck is going on, she's like, she is going to get hurt or worse.
Thank you for. All right, so first candidate to move forward, if consented to, will be Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Romano is kind of like, he looks at you, Vic, and he's kind of like, I don't want to step on toes here, but he's like, don't get me wrong, I like the kid. I like Harvey a lot. He's like, but he's like, I still don't feel like he's trustworthy. He's like, and if he's good at where he is, he's like, but he's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading the kid, but I feel like if he had any more length on his leash, then he might be an issue.
Does he know that Harvey's half-blood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh. So basically, he's just to clarify, meta-wise, he's saying not too much more faith or responsibility to Harvey. The long and short of it.
Or that Harvey should probably not
be turned.
Moved from thin blood to kindred.
Oh, No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about ghouling right now. We're not trying to upgrade any thin bloods, right? We're just trying to.
As you say that, I kind of start like looking around.
Let me throw something out, please. This is meta. This is not something Idaho would say.
Okay.
I assume because of the whole masquerade and the secrecy and all that, we're a pretty insular group.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't imagine, I mean, that we're going to know that many people. But are there any people that we know? You know, we're asking the ghouls, are there any people they know? But are there any people that we know that we've come across that might be candidates for this? I mean, is that a possible thing to just throw us a bone or something with, all the time we've been around, or is that something we would have to kind of determine on our own through the campaign?
I would say that was something you could determine. I mean, there's obviously some people who are probably pretty open to it.
Okay.
The guy at the ticket booth at the Walnut Street Theater who was all about Mr. Starwell. I mean, that's
Yeah. Okay. I just was curious about that, but that's it.
Right. The reason I'm reaching out to the ghouls is because like they are on that day-to-day thing, so they know a couple people who've been like hanging around that they might have gotten an idea for, like some kids who seem really enthusiastic about the space, and like,
Moira kind of chimes in and she's like, she says it's difficult, particularly with scene kids, to know the type of person that they're going to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And she's like, and this isn't, she's like, don't get me wrong. She's like, I love my work. I love working with you and for you. I love my life. She says, this is not something that most people are going to be able to hang with. She's like, you're looking for a real specific set of circumstances for a person that's going to be able to be a part of something that's going to be either be able to live within the day to day and know that the day to day will be forever, or who's going to be able to look at a set of circumstances 20, 30, 50 years down the line and see themselves where they are and say, I'd be okay being where I am for the most part, doing the same kinds of things.
We just need to find an Anne Rice book club. Those fuckers will go real quick.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not. I just don't feel like it's going to be easy to find some good candidates. Robin's an obvious one, but other than that, it's kind of tough.
And Moira says, and regarding Robin, she's like, I like the girl fine. She says, I think that, and she says, here is the issue. Do I think that she's a good candidate, that she's like Rhea or Lane or Clyde or Romano? She goes, no, I don't. She says, but on the other hand, if you don't do something about it, you're putting her at risk.
So she either needs to get in the pool or leave.
And that's the thing. And Moira kind of says, and she says, and I've been wrong before. And she points to Rhea, and she goes, Rhea's like my little sister. I love Rhea. And she looks at Rhea, and she's like, and I don't want you to take offense. And she looks back at you, Michael. She was like, I would have never ghouled her in a million years.
Wouldn't like Slade and Ruby and kind of their crew that usually hangs out at their corner of the bar, would it be far-fetched to think that they have some human friends that they just kind of keep in the dark but are totally cool with their weird lifestyle?
That's just another pool. I don't know that I want to go fishing out of either.
And Slade too. I'm not really like 100% trusting of Slade.
No, but it would be a connection to others that are. I don't know. I'm just trying to
scout it out. It's just basically generating leads.
Ruby looks to you, Alice, and she's like, I mean, I don't have any friends besides them. She goes, I know Slade has some humans that he hangs out with, but they're the type of people that would hang out with Slade, so you get what you pay for.
Oh, Ruby. That's so true.
She says, I know that there are other thin bloods that don't come to the club, and I know that they've talked about them hanging out with other people. She goes, but I mean, she's like, they're fine, but I mean, I'm not sure that. She kind of gets kind of like a pained look on her face. She goes, I don't know that I would consider Teddy to be the best judge of character.
Mm-hmm.
Noted. Well,
but she before you guys move on, Ruby quickly chimes in. And she's like, but I didn't think, I would have been either. She looks at you, Al, and she's like, this life is hard. She's like, we've had some really great times, but she kind of reaches up and touches her face. She goes, I've also been set on fire. She's like, it's hard to recommend this life to somebody else knowing what the possible outcomes are. Not the least of which is that you're encouraging someone to effectively become a murderer. And I'm not even comfortable with that still. I still have bad, moments about that. She's like, and the people that I would say, she goes, it's that stupid analogy. The people who would want this power are the ones who are the one that should be kept the farthest away from it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. Though I'd like to say that, keeping the murder to a bare minimum is definitely my goal. It's not like we murder every day. We don't have to murder to get our food, and ghouls don't have to do that at all.
Indeed. There are some.
I ask Ruby to step outside with me.
Romano's like, I mean, I've killed some people before.
Put it this way, it makes it easier.
Because they were dicks. Whatever.
In the meantime, while Al and Ruby step outside, I turn to address like Lane and Moira and everybody and be like, look, I'm gonna be like, we're gonna be working the club like everything. Just keep a radar out for see somebody who you think might interest us. Otherwise, I'm going to take care of the not Brooke? No.
Robin?
Robin, thank you. I think me and Al are going to sit down and have a conversation with Robin tonight. See how she liked her trial.
Lane is like good. she's like, she's cool chick. She's like, I like her a lot. She's double behind the bar. She's really good at her job on that bar. She's like, she's good enough behind the bar that she could theoretically be a main bartender for us at some point.
Mm-hmm.
She says, but
Seeing her sling.
But there is something about her that is going to continue to bring problems to her bar.
What is it? What is she? Just pretty? Or blood?
Clyde kind of shrugs and is like, flypaper for freaks.
I think we heard you the first time.
He's like, just want to make sure I was heard.
That's why she fits in with us.
He's like,
We are the freaks.
He's like, I would really like to not have to clean her ash out of the gutter upstairs. Al, you take Ruby outside of the conference room. What do you say?
I'm only going to ask this once, and I will take the answer you give me. But I do advise you to at least think on it a little bit before giving me an immediate answer. Are you sure that you would not be interested in being fully turned if that was available to you?
Her eyes go kind of big. She's like,
Look, let me. All I can say is that I see that you feel pulled between two worlds, and you obviously can't go back to your old one. But I could possibly make it so that you fully shift into this one. I just want you to know that it's an offer I will make once, and I'll take your answer.
She throws her arms around you and gives you a giant kiss.
Oh.
And after she kisses you, she looks you in the eye and she goes, I'm pretty happy where I am right now.
All right. So at that point, I re-enter the conference room.
Ruby follows you in. So the ghouls kind of filter out, head back down to the club to get back to their stations and keep things going. So what is the next thing?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and share with everyone my conversation with Sunny. So we talked. She told me someone was listening to the conversation. I assume it was Gigi. She said she has information on Raul. And Gigi wants to meet us. And it was sort of implied. I mean, she didn't really say that the meet was the trade for the information, but she said she wanted to give me the information face to face. So Gigi still wants to meet us. But he wants us to meet in his domain.
I fear that will have to be sufficient.
Well, they did ask us to give them the courtesy of letting them know if we will be visiting them this evening or not. So,
well, before we drop the issue, who, if it works out with Robin, who would be the one to? Okay. So, do we?
Unless you want me to ghoul her, and then you'll just have a brouhaha, big ass bartending chick at the bar who can handle her weight.
that would be if you turned her into a vampire.
And then the other question is, do we have time to do both tonight, to deal with both situations tonight?
I think we do. We can go and talk to Robin and then head out over to Sunny's.
I was going to talk to Romano too. And extend that same offer to him, see if he was interested, and I'll give him time. He doesn't have to tell me right now. You can think on it, dude. This is not a light decision at all. So you know.
When you talk to Romano, he's like, he's kind of like, at one point I thought that was what I wanted. He's like maybe someday. He's like, maybe someday I'll be ready to step up to the bar right next to you. He's like, I've seen some of the shit that you've had to handle. He's like, I'm happy running door.
So apparently we've just been some real shitty vampires setting a bad example. Nobody else wants to follow in our fucking footsteps.
No, we have. We've been really good vampires, and our ghouls are good. They don't feel subjugated or put down. They're happy.
We just need more.
So, Michael, you're going to head to talk to Robin? Okay.
I'm going to have Al with me just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you two are heading to talk to Robin. Vic, Idaho, what are you guys doing?
I guess getting ready for a meet with Gigi.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just mosey over to the club and just kind of hang out in the club until we're ready to go.
Okay, so Idaho, you're at the club. Vic, you're getting things together to go see Gigi. So, okay, at the club, when you guys get there, it's not an especially busy night, but it is a fairly decent night. There is a group of people who are sitting there at the bar, and the tip jar, even though it is early in the night, the tip jar is not full, but it's definitely starting to look a little heavy for Robin. She's definitely doing her job. Sitting at the end of the bar is Haddonfield.
Oh, I'll cover the bar while you guys are talking to her. Where is Slade over here?
No.
I'm gonna call Slade. Come to the bar. 911.
No.
Michael lets Idaho know. And no exasperated way.
I know what I'm doing.
Short and smart. That you're never allowed behind the bar again.
So just to be clear, Idaho didn't actually serve bad drinks to those people. He was just fucking with Slade.
Oh, Slade was very, very fucked with.
Yeah. I'd imagine Idaho knows how to make a few drinks.
I mean, definitely knows how to have sex on the beach.
Yeah, blowjobs. Screaming orgasm.
So, with the scene, with Haddonfield sitting there with all of them, how are you going to approach this, you two?
I mean, I suppose we can.
To be fair, like we'd probably walk up with Lane and like replace Robin and be like, "Hey, can you hold a minute with your time?"
Well, so Lane has already headed back down to her bar.
Who do we have on staff that can like step up?
Alice.
I mean, I suppose I can step behind and you can take the lead, and then it's not like I'm not going to be able to hear what's going on with our...
Well, no, I would prefer to do this not out in the open and take her back into the office, like, like an actual, like, boss.
Go for it. I'll take the bar.
But, like, I need you there in case she, like, turns us down to, like, completely just erase and be like, congratulations on your promotion. Here's like a bonus we're not going to be able to keep you on type of memory change.
What if we pull, what's his name? Harvey over here and just tell him, look, just tell him you don't know a fucking thing and hand out beers.
I will get behind the fucking bar. Why is this such a big deal?
All right. I'm kidding. Yeah, Idaho, please get behind the bar.
Roger. Everybody get sloppy.
The daggers in my look makes you understand that cannot be a joke tonight. I can't even be like possible.
He just increased his dexterity, so he's back there like cocktail.
Yeah. What do you think I've been doing the last
like
72 hours?
Like cocktail.
Yeah, I'm totally into cocktail.
Doing all the flair.
Yeah.
So when you pull Robin from behind the bar, even though there is no outward change in appearance or anything like that, it is difficult not to feel Haddonfield's eyes on you as you walk Robin away.
His obsession, not good.
When you get to the office, Robin's like, "What's up? Everything cool?"
Yeah, no, please don't worry yourself. Take a seat. At that, and I hold the door open. I point to the seat. Let her take a seat. I do sense the unseen real quick.
There is no one in your office.
So I gesture to Al to take the seat next to Robin and go ahead and take a seat at the desk and be like, so
Robin looks like her anxiety is starting to go up.
You're not fired. You're not fired.
Quite rapidly.
In
You're
fact,
fine.
quite the opposite.
She's like, okay.
So, I'm sure you've realized this is a very special establishment. We have interesting guests from everywhere come all the time.
She's like, yeah, some of your guests are very strange. She's like, I swear to God, if I have to clean up fucking somebody's spilled whiskey one more time. She's like, good tippers. Don't get me wrong, good tippers. But somebody keeps ordering whiskeys and then tipping well and then dumping the fucking whiskey at the bar, and I'm getting a little tired of it.
Michael just face palms and is just like, I mean, I take it you never had a job at Hooters before this.
Robin looks down at herself and then looks at you and she goes, I would have thought that was obvious.
Let's just say that you have quite the assets, darling. People are trying hard tipping for a good view.
She goes, thanks. I feel gross.
Yeah. You are an amazing bartender. We would love to keep you on. We'd love to bring you on for a time. In our opinion, this whole thing has been a huge success. But
she goes, I knew there was a but.
This is a weird place, and it's just going to keep getting weirder.
She's like,
the gross is literally the tiniest, faintest tip of the iceberg. The tips will always be great. Adventure is always going to be part of it. But this isn't going to be an ordinary job. It's yours if you want it.
She kind of cocks an eyebrow at you and she's like, I'm not sure what you mean. She looks at you, Al, and is like, what's going on?
Let's just say we're part of a very exclusive club that has some I don't know if stringent is the right word, but we're pretty picky about who we initiate. And we're making that offer to you.
I'm gonna look at you, Alice, and I'm gonna be like, we're gonna have to be a little bit more blunt. And I turn to Robin and I say, how old do you think Moira's been with me since the beginning? She's one of my most trusted and capable associates. Any project I'm going to do from now on, she's going to be with me. How long do you think that we've been working together?
She's like, Moira looks like she's maybe in her maybe mid 30s. So it sounds like you guys have been so maybe like 10 or 15 years.
I'd say it's closer to 80.
She's like, what? She's like, bullshit.
Is there a way that I could? Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of a glamour.
I mean, so what are you going to do?
Well, no, I'm not gonna do. It's very much not. How old do you think Clyde is? How long do you think me and Clyde have been working together?
She goes, he looks like he's in his late 20s, early 30s. So I guess maybe in the last 5-10 years. I don't know.
I ask.
He still acts like he's a fucking 16-year-old. So what the fuck ever.
I'll agree with that.
I mean, he was 16 when I met him the first time. Al, how long has he been working here?
It's before me, right?
How long have you been working here?
Was it going on 40 years now?
She looks at you and is like, no way. She's like, there's no way you're that old, Al. She like leans real close to you, like she's looking for like makeup or concealer or
stitches.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, she's like, okay, so you're putting me on. This is obviously some sort of game or weird hazing or initiation. So,
but what if it wasn't? What if it was exactly as literal as we are telling you? How would you feel?
She's like, that shit doesn't. That's not real. She's like, if I had ever seen or been a part of anything like this, then I would know. But she's like, it doesn't. This is fucking fantasy land. That's not real.
What if it's trying to let you know right now, right here, that some lies are true?
She's like, okay, so hypothetical. The owl comes to drop off my letter to Hogwarts, and I get to pick my house. Sure, I'm gonna go get my 4-year degree. She's like, but
what if one of us just used our sterility right now to go and flick the light off? Just like from an Interview with the Vampire, where he's like, "Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, what now, bitch?"
There are ways you could prove to her that
right, like
things aren't right. Things are.
I was actually gonna say, funny enough that you should mention that. Michael can do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, come on, dude.
That's at that point, I would do just that.
So to clarify, what exactly are you doing?
I am going to go from comfortably seated in my chair to standing next to a file, holding up a file drawer, holding up a file that is like kind of like some taxes from like the initial.
Just to look snappy, just
like from the initial establishment of this club.
When you do that, like the movement is so fast that she's like, she at first doesn't notice that you're like even gone, and then she's like, the fuck? And she looks over at you, and she's like, "How did you do that?"
And I take this piece of paper and I slide it in front of her, and I was like, "That was my first deed to this property."
When she looks at the paperwork, the signatures, everything on it, she's like, "No." She's like, "Bullshit." She's like, "This is." She goes, "Maybe this is your family, or maybe this is your great aunt, or."
Michael, why don't you pull out one of your very first selfies?
It's Keanu Reeves from the Civil War.
At this point, I say, I think this is easiest taken care of. And I turned to her and I was like, "Do you want to be scared or do you want to be seduced?"
Holy shit.
She's like, "Surprise me." Like she's incredulous at this point.
Okay. Where's my skills? I don't want to do dread gaze because that's way too much.
Her poor head just.
Yeah, no, I just want to do something like
when he does devil face.
Oh no!
Oh, look out! Blowing up your mind.
Reset. Oh.
Yep.
We lost Michael to a dread gaze.
Right?
Yeah.
That was annoying.
Don't do dread gaze in the mirror, Michael.
No. We have a mirror in this office.
John in chat says seduce, damn it.
That's what I'm trying to do. Just awe, just a gentle awe.
So you turn on awe. When she looks at you, like, even though her face still looks incredulous, like, you've done this enough, you can tell, like, eyes dilate, the heart's racing a little harder. She's like, I mean, I've never. She's like, I know this is really inappropriate to say. She's like, I've never noticed how attractive you are, but she's like, she's like, just because I've never noticed. She's like,
why do you think you never noticed?
And then I lean in, and then I hold her hand and I say, and I'm sure you also haven't noticed how ugly I am, and do a low daunt.
So you're going to use daunt on her.
Oh, Jesus.
No, wait.
Ooh,
where are my things? Where are my things?
You have daunt. You do indeed have daunt.
This is so awesome.
So when you turn on daunt,
just for a brief moment, very slightly,
she immediately, like, jerks her hand back from you and, like, kind of, like, scrambles back a little bit, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then she, like, looks at you, Al. She's like, I don't understand. She's like, I don't. What do you?
We are vampires.
She's like,
anything making sense now?
She's like, you're not gonna kill me, are you?
Not at all. In fact, we have a very interesting offer for you. Think of it as possibly a promotion.
Here's the deal. If you're going to continue working here, you are far too vulnerable as is. So if you want to get this job, it's going to take a little bit of joining of the club, so to speak. Your own protection comes with benefits, but it also comes with super drawbacks. If this is not what you want, we can make you forget that this ever happened, this conversation ever happened.
And we'll just have to let you go.
She is like, I mean, I need the job. So.
And we love having you here. We would not. Do you think we would have just made this offer to anyone?
She's such a trooper. I love her.
She's like, okay. So what does being part of this club entail? Like she's definitely eyeing you both with quite a bit of suspicion. Like she knows what she's seen, but she's still.
You just need to make a toast to the
Michael,
establishment.
what do you think about bringing Moira in? She's been with us the longest. I think she could give a very good insight as to
she wouldn't
how
be at a bar right now. I think, I say.
You going to page her?
Yeah, just over the walkie, just like beep beep, Moira to the office, please.
Moira's there very quickly. She comes in. She goes, "Hi, we're having the conversation, are we?"
Sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Moira has the best. Has gone through the whole thing. She can tell you what joining the club entails and means.
She sits down next to Robin, and she looks up at the two of you, and she says, "Do you mind giving me a minute with her for a bit?"
Not at all. We'll be right outside.
So, you guys leave Moira to it. This seems like an appropriate point for a bio break. We will be back in 10.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Just hang out and chat there. Or, go take your own bio break. Get a smoke, whatever. We'll be back in about 10, and we'll see you soon.
Oh, he disappeared.
All right. Yeah, we're back. Welcome to the playground. I'm Pixie Phoenix. I'm a variety streamer here on Twitch. Tonight, you're joining us for our Monday night Vampire the Masquerade live action role playing sessions. And I'll hand it back over to Knox.
Welcome back to our Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition Chronicle, Billy by Night. When we just left off, Michael and Alice had left Moira to attempt to smooth the situation out with a somewhat disbelieving Robin. So, with them talking, what is the group doing now? Are you guys going to go get Idaho off the bar? Are you going to?
I would like to ask a question about the bar, since it appears some of our patrons at the bar might be kindred. Is this something that I'm aware of?
The only one that you are definitively aware of is Haddonfield.
So my bloodhound isn't telling me anything about the other people?
No, nothing. The rest of them appear to be human.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I guess I'm just slinging hash at them.
So, you're at the bar. Vic, while this is going on, what are you doing?
I'm getting my shotgun ready. I'm getting everything ready to go.
Imagine in the time that we had to do this stuff, you would have gotten all that.
Polishing Lucille.
Phrasing.
Do I need to roll for whether or not I succeed in inventing that new drink I mentioned?
No.
I'm the one with mixology.
So, Michael, Al, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave Moira to talk to Robin and go on, or are you going to come back in after a bit?
Come back in.
Okay. When you come back in, Robin.
Like we're gonna wait until we get an all clear, come back or whatever, and then go back in.
Moira comes to the door, and when she kind of looks at you guys, and she's like, she's like, she still doesn't believe. Like, she thinks this is all some prank game. She checked the corners of the room looking for cameras. Moira's like, she's like, I think she'd be on board given the question the answer she told me. Yeah, but she's still perceiving all of this as a hypothetical, not as a.
And you're. Oh boy.
So I know I'm not there, but I'd like to point out the obvious, or what I presume to be the obvious.
Okay, what do you just kind of
yeah, totally meta. Every one of the ghouls that we have had to eventually be convinced that vampires are real. So even though this is a big, I mean, this scenario right now is huge, but even though it's the first time we've done it in our campaign, would not be the first time Michael or Al has done something and had this kind of conversation with a human being.
Well, so here would be the response to that would be is that often the way, and again this is entirely meta, often the way that vampires, particularly sentimental vampires, end up with ghouls is not as kind of a business opportunity as this is coming across, but as a either saving their life from something, giving them blood to heal them, or things like that.
Okay.
Or the humans figure it out on their own, and when confronted, the kindred are like, you got me. You want to come along?
Yeah, because I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here, so
no.
I'm just curious.
But we are in the era of deep fakes, and
it might just take slicing and dicing and
that's what I'm saying. So my last meta question is, immediate boosts or benefits from just having one sip from like Vitae.
So, here, let us go down the ghouls. A mortal or animal who drinks a vampire's blood becomes something both more and less than what they are for a time. Derisively called a ghoul by Western vampires, the imbiber gains a smidgen of the power of a true vampire. The vitae consumed not only brings a rush, but also arrests the aging process. The effects are temporary, however, and if weaned off vampire blood, the mortal deteriorates rapidly as the ages catch up with their halted age.
All right.
Vampires use ghouls as retainers where loyalty outweighs keeping the masquerade, since a single kindred can blood bond as many ghouls as they can manage. Unlike the Embrace and Blood bonds, vampire blood does retain its ghoul-sustaining properties for a few days while stored in an airtight container and not exposed to sunlight. Vampires usually only provide their vitae in such a manner after having properly established a blood bond with a ghoul. A rouse check's worth of vitae bestows the following benefits to a mortal or animal for approximately a month. This is a good thing for you to know too, Idaho. The master grants the mortal the first dot from one of their disciplines that the master knows, along with a single level 1 power possessed by the vampire. The aging process halts, sometimes even setting the clock back a few years. Wounds heal twice as fast, unless caused by fire. Ghouls who use power above level 1, thanks to Draught of Elegance or similar powers, alchemical effects, and other causes, take 1 point of aggravated damage to their health instead of making a rouse check. In other words, it hurts like a motherfucker to do higher end skills.
Okay. So, and last question. Do I have to bite her, or can she just drink my blood?
No, you can. In fact, that is a one-way street. That is, you are giving her your blood.
Okay.
Now, you drink from her, it will still. It's just like drinking from any other human. You can restore a
hunger
from her if you drink off of her. And of course, the kiss is highly euphoric to humans. Giving the blood, on the other hand, is both a rush, but also will definitely give her some of your ability.
Okay. So I sit down and I say, like, would you like to try it for a night?
She's like, sure.
She wants it. Smile. She's just holding out.
Yeah. At this point, I smile and I ask for her hand and see if she's willing to give it to me.
She looks at you, Al, and she's like she's got a look on her face like, anytime you guys are ready for the game to be up. And she puts her hand in yours, Michael.
Well, and then I gently and slowly draw her wrist up to mine, to my mouth, and I say, now this isn't going to feel how you expect it to feel. And I go ahead and sink my teeth in to have a drink.
So how much are you going to...
Only one.
You're going to drink one off of her? Okay. When you sink your teeth into her, it is really easy to understand exactly why she is drawing people to her, why there is a certain amount of kindred who are interested in her. Her blood is uplifting, it is passionate, it is maybe even a little angry, it is fiery, it is just an intense amount of emotional resonance. She is definitely something special. When you bite into her wrist, the flavor is incredible. But watching her, her first response, there is a moment of pain as your fangs go in, and then after that, like, her eyes flutter and close, and she is making soft, almost purring noises as you drink. When you pull your teeth out, what do you do?
I pull away just for a half second so she can see, and then I bend down and I lick so she can also see.
At that, her eyes are the size of saucers. Like, she's like, whoa. She's like, you weren't. She's like, you're not lying. She looks at you, Al. She's like, are you?
Am I?
She's like, are you like him?
I go ahead and flash my fangs.
She kind of, like, you can immediately see the conflict on her. Like, you flashing your fangs is immediately fear, but there's also, after what she's just experienced, there's also almost an instinctive, like,
bite me.
She's like, okay. So she's like, are you gonna kill me? Like,
do you not remember our offer earlier?
And at that point, if I can, I'd like to produce like a highball. Like, is it better if she drinks directly from me, or can I put it in a glass?
I mean, you could cut your wrist and put it into a glass. It will sustain itself for a little bit for the.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just slice my wrist and just pour it slightly in a glass, like my wound closed, and be like, and this is to see what it would be like.
She very hesitantly
to join the fold.
She very hesitantly, like, leans forward and takes the glass and, like, sniffs at it, and then, like, shoots it, like, the entire amount. Make a rouse check, since you have to put a fairly significant amount of blood in there.
Where's the, there it is. Okay, rouse check. Aha!
Yeah.
You're fine. She shoots it, and two things happen. One, her eyes, like her pupils, like, immediately dilate. Like, she's, like, taking in, like, all, and she's kind of, like, looking around, like, whoa. But Michael, you instantly feel a stronger connection with her. You think that she could wander basically anywhere in this club, and if you wanted to play hide and seek with her, you could easily find her.
So I'm having a resonance with her, basically.
She's your ghoul, at least for
now.
She's like, this is kind of nuts.
It's a whole lot of nuts, kiddo. It's a whole lot of nuts.
She's like, so what's next? What? She's like, am I a vampire now?
You are a familiar, Western, like, what I'd call a familiar, but popular culture would call you a ghoul. It's so horrible. Jealous bastards.
She's like, it doesn't feel horrible.
Just a word.
Just a word. As I said, more like the familiar. So you have a little bit of our gifts, a little bit more resilience.
At this point, Moira knocks on the door, and she looks at Robin and nods, and she looks at you two, and she goes, perhaps the best way to show her is to let her back out and do her job tonight while she is experiencing this.
That's
That
a good
was
idea.
going to be the next thing I said. Thank you for reading my mind as always, Moira.
Moira smiles and curtsies, and then she looks at Robin and she goes, meet us back here at the end of the night. And Robin's like, okay. So Robin heads back to the bar, and when she gets to the bar, Idaho, she looks at you like squinty eyes, and she's like, are you...
I'm going to lean in to her ear and say, yes, let's keep it a secret.
She's like, is everybody here?
No. We got to keep it a secret. Most people here are not. So let's keep it a secret.
She's like, I can't tell if I want to put this on TikTok or if I just don't even know what I want to do.
No, don't put it on TikTok. Secret. That's the most important thing. Secret.
At this point, I'd be texting Lane, like, can you check on her, like, on the hour, every hour? Just make sure.
Lane texts back, oh God, and then yes.
Thank you.
So, and I'm also going to kind of pull her aside and say, Haddonfield, I'll point at Haddonfield, not so that he can see, but I'm just, trying to let her know. Say he is, and then point at those other people and go, and they're not.
When she looks at Haddonfield, like there's something on her face that is kind of, something passes across her face. Like she's like putting puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, I'll tell her. One big clue is people like me, we can't drink that alcohol. We just have to act like we're drinking it.
She sits there and she is
all of a sudden that light bulb goes off. She's like, oh.
And she's like, the light bulb goes off, Idaho, and you hear her mutter under her breath, fucking asshole.
No, we're just, I'm sure the tips are good and they better be. It's just part of the masquerade. You gotta keep the secret.
She looks at you and she goes, sure, right up until you end up smelling like fucking Jack Daniels for days.
Well, okay. Like, at least you can drink it.
She goes back to working behind the bar, and Idaho, you notice, although she doesn't notice,
I demand piggies!
Much faster.
Yeah. Okay. So, Haddonfield is the one who's been spilling his whiskey?
Apparently.
I mean, is it something that I noticed while I was back there?
He hadn't ordered anything from you. He has been sitting there with a highball glass.
Just waiting.
Right. Well,
waiting for her return.
Yeah, as I'm relieved of duty, I will saunter over to him and kind of come up on whatever side of him is the most private and say, I don't know. I think we've had this discussion before, but remind me, can we tell when someone else is a ghoul?
I didn't fall. I just sauntered vaguely downwards.
Yeah.
I think you and I can because of Bloodhound.
You can definitely tell when there is something additionally there.
Okay. So like he knows he must know what's going on now too, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go up on whatever side, like I said, whatever side of him is most private and say, she's ours now. She knows. She's going to keep the secret. Just kind of get him a little bit on the end.
He kind of sighs and he goes, "No, I'm going to go find something to eat," and kind of
That's a great idea.
saunters off.
I'll say good luck. Good luck on your hunt.
So, does everybody reconvene?
Yep.
Okay. So, everybody reconvenes.
Status update.
Is there anything else that you want to handle before you head to the subway?
All right, I guess I'll be responsible and try to hunt real quick.
Okay, 6 dice.
I don't want to, though. I want to ride that ragged edge.
You might need it tonight.
I hope so. I want to rouse up to 5 hunger. Okay. Six. So what am I? 3 and 3?
Mm-hmm. So, you on your way out of the club, you happen to walk by a guy who's coming in. He's dressed a little similarly to you, that kind of hobo chic thing going on. You can smell the drugs in his system. You think maybe it's been a day or two, maybe he's still coming down a little bit, maybe he's sweating them out, but to you can smell both the alcohol and the opium. So when you saunter up on him and he seems into the attention, if I might, twitchy. It doesn't take long for him to succumb to your charms. So, how much do you drink?
Remind me again what happens if you take 2?
If you take 2, he's going to be fairly woozy, but still standing.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take 2.
So, as you drink him down, he is euphoric in your arms. He is, to him, this is, and his reaction, this is maybe the best high he's ever had in his entire life. For you, it's a little different. As you drink him down, there is hopelessness. There is deep, deep sadness. There is attempting to escape and failing. There is this awful, awful feeling of forever being wrong in your own skin. And it is intense and it is flavorful. But as euphoric as it is for him, it is melancholic, to say the least, for you.
Have I seen him before? Is he like a regular or anything?
You have never seen this person before.
Her.
I'm going to tell this person my name and try to get their name and exchange info to keep in touch.
You also because it is so intense. This feeling, this melancholy, this sadness. You feel almost like you're not ever going to forget this. You feel like this is going to be something that comes back to you even decades later. You're going to remember this drink. You, for the remainder of the evening, gain a +1 to any dice rolls that use your presence.
Mm. Did he tell me his name?
His name is James.
Okay. Thank you. Cool. I'm glad I decided to hunt.
So, you rejoin the group. What next? Heading to the subway?
Yep. Trying to meet with Gigi.
The drive in the Charger. Idaho, are you bringing Brutus to this, or are you leaving Brutus behind?
I'm leaving him in the apartment.
Okay. The drive to the subway platform is a little bit of a tense one. Driving this deep into Camarilla territory under the best of times is an exercise in paranoia. Under the worst of times, like this, particularly with what you're carrying on you to tell Gigi, it has the same feeling as perpetually being in the sight of a gun. When you descend into the subway, Idaho, you smell Sunny. You know she's here. And when you go to the place on the platform that she usually is, she waits until basically all of you were standing near her or in front of her before materializing.
Okay. Hey, Sunny. Oh, when we were on our way there, I would have texted her to let her know we were coming.
Yep. She looks around and she kind of waves at everybody, and then she gets maybe closer than she's ever gotten to you before, Idaho. She's almost chest to chest with you and is raising her face so her mouth is right next to your ear.
Mm-hmm.
She says, the last place we saw that there were any eyes on Raul, he was being walked, although on walking of his own accord, into La Vena Pulita.
What place is that? Is that the Toreador place?
That would be, Alice would know this very well. That would be the club owned by Bianca, the Malkavian Primogen.
I don't think I've ever been there.
I don't think I have either.
No, you know where you had.
You have definitely been there before.
You had your flashback where you were seeing your family and all that weird.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're on mute, Baron.
You're muted.
It was me, you, and Al there chasing Ruby down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's being discreet by whispering that in my ear, so I'll hold on to it. But as soon as I have the opportunity to share it with the group, I will.
Okay. So after she tells you that, she looks you in the face and she nods, like, to make sure that you heard it.
Yeah, thanks.
And then when you nod in the affirmative, she turns and waits until the subway platform has cleared, and then walks. The way forward is both familiar and unfamiliar. Up to a certain point, you could have probably done this by yourselves. But after a certain point, once she drops through a hole and you guys are down there walking on platforms, you've never seen any of this stuff before. This is going up, going down, coming down to crossroads. It feels like maybe you've taken 4 rights. Like this is confusing the best of times, and sometimes the light goes out and you're basically walking through just by sound. You have no idea after maybe 5-10 minutes of walking, you know you couldn't just turn around and walk out of here. At this point,
Yeah.
in for a penny, in for a pound. When she leads you through a final door, you come out into the familiar warrens that the Nosferatu have. But instead of this time, where you came out previously on one side, this time now you're coming in through a completely different side. And you realize that she has taken you on a completely different section.
Right.
When you walk in, it is a hive of activity. There are Nosferatu on multiple computers that are all across platforms. People are running back and forth. You notice that there are some kindred, not non-kindred down here. That there are a couple ghouls who are running around down here, who are assisting, who are. One of them looks like he's doing metal work and is basically welding things. It is a nest of activity. It is really weird because for all of the activity, all of the Nosferatu that you can see everywhere, all of the activity around you, the amount of sound is muted. It is quiet, almost as if no one is talking, almost as if no one is all of their keyboards are soft touch. If there's no sound. Until, of course, you hear about fucking time. And Gigi is standing on a platform in the middle of all of it. Sunny looks at you, Idaho, and mouths, "Good luck." And
I'm going to lean into her, get right up on her ear and say, if you ever want to start working for this chump, let me know.
she scurries off. So, what do you all do?
I was gonna stand there and look pretty.
Me too.
You are almost certainly going to look prettier than most of the people in that cavern.
Right.
Doesn't take much down here. Well,
I'm
Can I
hanging
say
back.
GG?
He goes, "So, I have been informed that you have some glorious bit of information." He says, "So what is it?" He's like, he gets kind of an incredulous look on his face, and he says, "I will bet you a boon that I have already heard this before."
Give him a thumb drive.
Do I need to roll to see if I can hold my tongue? Because I really want to say something to this motherfucker.
So what are you guys going to do?
I mean, if you've heard this before, then we are wasting your time. We should leave. And I move to see if anybody wants to leave.
He is basically waiting for you
To leave.
or
No.
to do to produce something to
say, can we just drop the act and just exchange, because you asked us to come down here?
He said you said that you had this huge gun, this huge smoking gun that you were going to turn over. He's like, so
you remember our conversation at Walnut Street Theater?
He says, I well remember.
Okay.
He says, so as they say in poker, time to call. What do you got?
And then I will produce a hard drive.
That's the little thumb drive. Yeah.
He takes the hard drive and almost flippantly throws it through the air. Someone materializes and catches it and puts it into a computer at the base of a wall of monitors. All of the screens light up. There's got to be 20 or 30 of them. Different documents, different pictures. The picture of Carmelo, the audio files on a couple, everything running at once. And Gigi is looking at all of this information from the screens. But you also notice that there are 5, maybe 6 other Nosferatu who are underneath of the screens, who are looking at individual computers, multiple monitors or whatnot, parsing through all of the information, listening very carefully. Things are getting highlighted on screen. Some of the screens are turning off. Some of them are turned, the gamma on them get turned way up. Some of them, the RGB gets all weird on them. As that happens, you see Gigi going and kind of pointing at different things, looking. And then you hear him very, very softly under his breath go, oh, shit. He turns back around and he goes, so what's the next step?
You've got the network to disseminate information.
You said if we brought you proof, you would get it out there.
He said, and I can. He said, but he says, you realize what's going to happen when this goes out, right?
All out war on our heads.
He's like, that's for damn sure. He's like, but more than that, he's like, are we going to see Charles get drug out in the middle of all of this? Absolutely. He's like, if you flip a coin, if we don't have Justicars in town by next weekend hunting for him. He's like, this, and he gestures to all of the screens. He goes, this pitches
It's fine. Just...
all of the current heads, with a few exceptions, right on their fucking ass.
Hey.
He says, Victoria. He goes, Charles. He goes, it looks from some of these paperwork, Scro knew what was going on. He goes, although we're ahead on that fucking account, aren't we?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He said, all of this gets, he goes, they're going to pitch every single one of those fuckers right into the gutter on the street. He says, but I'm asking you what the next step is, because he's like, this is a real narrow window of opportunity. He said, you guys can use this to punch real hard. He's like, but he's like, they're going to kick these people out, but he's like, what are you going to do in the meantime? How are you guys going to go on the offensive?
Time out.
He's like, because he points to the screens. He goes, because what this is going to do effectively is put the seat of the prince up for grabs. They're going to go to war with each other. All of any Primogen who's ever had a dream of fucking throwing Charles out on his ass said, this is the game.
I leaned into Michael. I said, would it not be prudent to let them take each other out and then swoop in at the right moment? Make a stand?
That is a game plan. That is one way of playing this. There's another way to make this possible. Make this an anarch town. Ow! Fuck!
Already
okay. Hi.
Evil baby cat.
Hi.
That's the first cat that I ghouled. Already sucking up to you.
I can climb your leg like tree, yes?
So what's an alternative?
So we came down here to show Gigi what we've got because he wanted us to come down here.
Yeah, we're also here kind of. So the way Michael is thinking of this is like right now he didn't want to get dragged into politics, but he's been dragged into politics. Mm-hmm. If he can make a secure, like, stronghold, kind of like shift the powers that be to a point in favor of anarchs and specific anarchs that aren't going to be fighting amongst each other. Fucking Christ, why don't you? That's why you're the opposites of what I usually have set up. Okay. Why not? Why not weaken the Camarilla and make this make Philly an anarch city?
But
how?
Not just how. If it was just the Camarilla, my vote would be unleash this shit, let the chaos happen. We'll pick off the stragglers. But there's another person that's going to benefit.
Yeah, Sabat.
Shaw.
So we don't have to go public with this right now. We're just here to show Gigi what we've got. So I'm gonna look at Gigi. I'm assuming all that conversation was just meta, that really didn't happen. I'm gonna look at Gigi and say, so do you owe us a boon?
He goes, no, I owe you a boon.
Oh, me specifically?
He's like, you're the one who won the bet, dumbass. He says, let me tell you exactly how this is going to work. He says, first thing that's going to happen when this gets disseminated out, you're going to see some hardliners who aren't going to believe it. They're going to think it's all faked. There aren't enough of them to make a difference on that point. He said, but there will certainly be some that don't believe. He said, there's going to be a lot of people who immediately want answers, who are immediately going to start asking questions. He says, as far as the Primogen and the Prince, he's like, would not be surprised if Charles goes further underground, which just means up his own ass, or for Victoria to attempt to exit town. He says there's a reasonable chance that before any of that happens, that the current Scourge, who was imprisoned with you, if these documents are correct, doesn't try to go for the throat on both of them.
We saw the Scourge inside. I mean, she was there.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, well, he says, we've been keeping an eye on her. She's been investigating. She wanted this information just as badly as you.
Now that is interesting.
Wonder what she would pay to find out about this.
Well, she's got enough information of her own that she's got some pretty good leads. If you hadn't brought this to us, she'd have figured it out within the next couple months. But he said, so that is one entire possibility, that all of those factions are either going to go to ground or they're just going to start eating one another. He said, but the next big thing that's going to happen, and he goes, and frankly, given the situation with the Keeper and with the sheriff, I'm surprised that we haven't had it happen already, is that there's going to be another call for Elysium. And this time they're going to be putting up whoever the new prince is going to be for Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Cams aren't going to want to give up the power.
He says, he goes, you have to think, there's just probably going to damage their reputation, and it's probably going to cause a massive issue in terms of recruitment, of
Who they
what
can
they
trust.
have. Yeah, people who trust them. He goes, absolutely. He goes, there are multiple people here in this city who are going to look at this as a giant burned bridge. He goes, but again, there are enough hardliners that they probably can still keep some foothold here. Probably not as strong, but wouldn't surprise me at all if they managed to at least still stay in some territories here. He goes, but the question here is how are you going to play it?
I'm worried about Shaw.
Yeah, I think he's the biggest threat, Shaw, right now. And then the Northeast Anarchs, because they're not going to be on board with us regardless.
Well, I'm also not trying to be only defensive. This is an opportunity to actually gain some territory.
What kind of trap could we lay? Yeah, what kind of trap could we lay to get Shaw in a place that we want him?
All we have to do is make a chalk mark on a door to get Shaw. That's all we got to do.
Gigi looks at you, Idaho, and says, we also have information that you might be interested in. He goes, he reaches under his coat and clicks something, and when he clicks it, all of the images behind him on those screens go away and are replaced with a picture of Tracy. He goes, is this yours?
Kinda. You know where she is? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
He goes, no, but he clicks the picture and it turns off. He says, we intercepted a missive from a Camarilla courier to we don't know. He said, but the general text of the missive was that this little girl who is supposedly important to you, he goes, I don't know why people keep pets, but whatever. He says, is currently in captivity somewhere here in downtown. He said, Charles apparently hired somebody to start or hired rather someone for each of you to start going after people who are important to you, things that are important to you.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I guess we're important to him.
He says, I think he's just still pissed from what happened at Walnut Street.
Well, imagine what he'll do after this happens.
He goes, oh, I don't have to. At about this point, Sonny walks up next to you, Idaho, and leans up and says, didn't you want to ask him a question about that thing you found?
Yeah.
Did I? What the hell? What thing?
She's like,
Adelaide.
She's like, the thing you found in the apartment complex?
I'm totally drawing a blank. What are we talking about here?
She kind of pulls you to the side, and she's like, you got in touch with me about some sacrificial site that you found, and there was a black hand.
Oh, and I thought, sorry, I thought she was talking about our apartment complex.
No. Just like, you wanted to tell him about this thing with a black hand?
I guess. I really don't trust her.
It's been a minute. It was a long day. I don't know about you guys, but it was a long day.
I'm starting to, just as a little side note to share some of Idaho's thoughts, I'm starting to get to the point where I don't want to ask Gigi for anything anymore, ever again. I just don't like this guy. He's just such a dickhead. Anyway,
usually information nerds are. Because,
I mean,
I feel powerful somehow.
Half of me wants to call in the boon and say, okay, from now on you have to treat us with respect, but I don't think he can do it. Say, okay, yeah. We encountered, and I don't even know, I don't have that, do I? Does Al have a record of that? Who has a record of that information? Did we even take pictures or anything? I guess not. I'll just describe it to him what we encountered at the apartment when we were at Granabees with the black hand and the way the site looked.
Just be like, stop me when this sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He, while you're talking and describing what you found, he clicks over his shoulder, and there is one of the monitors shows a image of the black hand with a circle around it on the side of a building. Looks like it's been spray painted. He clicks again, and another one shows up. It's in a completely different place, in a completely different fashion. And as you're talking, he continues to click over his shoulders, and there's more and more of them. He goes, so here's something that we've suspected for a while. And we've been gathering information about this, but you have only given us more proof. He goes, proof. He says, we think that, or there are some of us here who think, let me rephrase that. Shaw's not actually a Sabbat.
Okay.
Undercover can?
No, he's running his own game. He doesn't follow. He follows a lot of their methodology, but none of the teachings.
Using the fanatics to get to a means, to an end.
Mm-hmm. He wants power. He doesn't believe any of the beliefs.
Got it.
He goes, the Black Hand he says, you have to understand, when 9/11 happened and the Second Inquisition happened, the Sabbat were hit harder than anybody. He said, a bunch of religious nuts who want to be out and about, he was like easy pickings for literally any alphabet agency out there who is looking to bolster the reputation in the early days of this war. He was like, they're stupid, they're young, they're self-destructive when they're not being just outright destructive of everything else. He's like, Shaw doesn't apply to any of that. He says he claims that he's part of the Sabbat, but for the most part, he hasn't acted like it. He's acted more like just another player in town. He changed his allegiance and said he was an anarch baron tomorrow. He was like, there would be no difference in his game plan. He goes, these guys? He said, the Sabbat, the Black Hand, he's like, they're ghosts. He's like, they're religious hardliners. He's like, they are a shining example of what an insurgency looks like. These guys are the survivors. These guys are the ones who drop into an area, they find a target, they kill it. They are nuts in all senses of the word.
Well, they're in our backyard.
He said, this is a huge problem. Because I guarantee you they're not on the CAM's radar.
They drop in, they kill their target, and they leave?
Not necessarily. You have to understand, they don't think of... The way that the Sabbat used to think was closer to how the Anarchs thought or how the Camarilla thought. The idea was you wanted to collect territory, right? It was like a giant global game of Risk. Everybody was trying to take as many parts of the board as they could so they could try to outwit and outmaneuver everybody else, right? Sabbat can't do that anymore. All of the young ones are dead, which just leaves the older ones who run in packs. He's like, their game isn't to do that. They come into a town, they're like locusts. They're looking for resources, they're looking for things that they can take. They're focusing all of their efforts. Everybody else is focusing their efforts on the same old bullshit. Who owns what? He goes, these guys, they're all about the Middle East. The Gehenna War, the Beckoning. He goes, these are the guys who are running it from the shadows. These are the guys who are sending troops to fight the Elders. He goes, and let me tell you something. He goes, Anarchs, Camarilla, they love to tell stories when they get back about how well we're doing, about how all the Elders are going over there and kicking ass and taking names and making it look like a Tony Stark fucking video. He says the reality, the stone cold reality is they go over there expecting an old school war. These guys are waging it in a completely new, different fashion. There's a lot less of them, and there only have to be, because they're kicking our asses.
What's their end game?
Bringing back Cain. Bringing the end to all of the antediluvians. Killing all of the Elders.
Got it.
They want power. They want to be seated at the right hand. He said they are absolutely nuts. He said, and the bigger problem with this is that even within the Black Hand, there are new factions that are arising. He said the older ones are meeting younger ones and recruiting them to their cause and feeding on them. He's like, in previous days, Thin Bloods used to be anathema to them. Because it was a sign of Gehenna. It was a sign that the end days were coming, right? The antediluvians are about to rise. So killing them made sense to the Sword of Cain. Kill them, get rid of them, take those pieces off the board, so that way Cain has clear landing spot. Now, he said Thin Bloods are next up on the list to join. He says they're they're easy recruitment. Same thing that the conservative movement in the United States and the worldwide is doing. Find a bunch of displaced, angry, young people who are disillusioned with the current political system, paint a big target on everybody else, and tell them to go fucking die for it. Give them a gun. Except in our cases, it's somewhat worse than a gun, as you might understand.
We've seen. We got to see that shit. Firsthand.
He goes, we know that they're in Philly. We found these everywhere. They're starting to crop up more and more, but every single time that we go wherever they are, there's nobody there. It's like they're leaving footprints behind, but there's no walk. We don't know why they're here. He's like, but I guarantee you, he's like, they're probably pissed at Shaw for taking their name. So he's probably in their sights too, which is about the only good news I can possibly give you out of all of this.
So they're just making moves on all barons and all properties.
He goes, we don't even know. He goes, this incident that you've told us is the first time that we've ever even heard of anybody who is left in the aftermath. He's like, usually they're pretty good at either burning everything to the ground or leaving no trace at all.
I think we got lucky on this one and moved fast enough.
Well, there was
Threnody, right? That's where we showed up with Threnody.
Yeah. Because like it was a text message of like, you need backup, and it was like, yes, and we were there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you knew about this attack, didn't you, Gigi?
He goes, we got information from somebody who was on the ground who they said you saw them, but you didn't attempt to interact with them, so they didn't attempt to interact with you. They didn't know whose side you were on.
Well, they weren't the only ones there observing the situation.
He said, for the time being, he says, is it a problem? Absolutely. But until they make themselves a more prominent problem, he goes, I'm not entirely sure what to do about it. He goes, but the information that you're giving is going to be a giant fucking flaming gateway for anybody who wants to get in on this.
So I say we figure out who wants to get in on this before we set it free.
He says, so one thing here is a guess. I'm going to throw out a guess here. This information is going to go out, and in 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to call Elysium. They're either going to have caught Charles and Victoria and the rest of them and brought them in, or Charles and Victoria are going to be in the wind. If they're in the wind, then it's twice as bad as anything else, because now we're going to have fucking all sorts of people from the Ivory Tower worldwide here hunting them. He's like, they're going to call Elysium to declare a new prince. He's like, there's no way that Shaw passes that up.
He made a nice appearance last Elysium.
He goes, and that's why I would assume that he'll be there again. He goes, on that same note, he goes, if these assholes are looking for an opportunity to take Shaw off the board and the Camarilla out of Philadelphia, he goes, if that's their game plan in the first place, he goes, this is beginning to look like a really bad situation. He says, so what are you guys going to do here? Because frankly, given this bit of information and everything else that has happened, he said, there are some people here who want us to basically pull stakes and move everything.
From the city.
Or to a completely different part of the city. He said, we've been here for quite a few years. He said, I think we're safe here, but who knows?
So, Michael, if I'm hearing all this correctly, could this not be a situation of a temporary, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? We put out the call that there's going to be a meetup at Elysium. All of us know what's going on. We lure him there and we take him out.
Lure Shaw and Victoria and Charles? Is that what you're... Or just
well,
Shaw?
I mean, Shaw, I think, is our main issue, correct? Out of the three, really. With his abilities, yeah.
What I seem to have picked up from what Gigi just said is basically, if we miss out on getting Charles and Victoria right now, then they're in the wind, and we'll always have like a target on our back. And the city will be in constant unrest.
3 for 1 then.
For people, exactly.
Get everybody in one spot.
So, if we can figure out a way to set it up where we can imply this is what's going to be released and have Elysium be called, that way we'd have like 3 of them in the same situation.
What if we also talk to our werewolf friends? I mean, under the knowledge that after taking care of this huge situation, that they would be freed of a lot of the bullshit they've been put under.
They're technically not supposed to leave.
They're not
technically, we're technically not supposed to be killing all these motherfuckers, but it looks like we're going to do it.
Gigi says they have their own problems right now. The detente, which was broken, no thanks to you guys. He says that has caused issues. He said the gangrel in the park are in a constant state of discussion now with local Camarilla.
About readdressing the situation with werewolves.
Exactly. He's like, there are some people who think that now is the time to renegotiate the treaty. There are some kindred who think that this is the time period to use this particular indiscretion to go into Fairmont and claim it from the guru.
That would be unwise.
Well,
so what if we could swoop in and play peacemaker with the promise that if they back us up, then we can keep the treaty however they would like it.
Who is saying they want to sweep in and take Fairmont?
The gangrel and the Camarilla that they're talking to.
We didn't hear that. I'm asking Gigi because we didn't
He
hear
said like who specifically?
He said there's a number of different people who are looking to influence this discussion towards sweeping in. There are a couple gangrel who think that the number of werewolves has winnowed to the point that it would be a bloody ground war, but it would be a winnable one. He said he kind of chuckles to himself, and he goes, there is a prick who is trying to jockey for position as the Ventru Primogen. His name, he snaps at somebody and he goes, what is his fucking name? And the guy goes, oh, he goes, Royce. They snap and
I'd love to kill that motherfucker.
He says he's one of the primary rabble rousers attempting to strong arm the situation. He, for some reason, desperately thinks that he's going to be able to put this feather in his cap.
Well, maybe we should go talk to the werewolves first before we pull the trigger.
He says the circumstances with that's been ongoing. Like that literally doesn't stop. When the gangrel and when the sun goes down and the kindred there can't be there, their ghouls continue talking during the day, and then when the sun goes down, all the information or anything that came up during the day gets recycled to them. It's been going on since
forever.
What happened.
But right now the situation has changed, and there are some that are saying we should go in and take that from them, and we should renegotiate the treaty.
And there are some that think that the best possible solution, the best possible outcome for everyone, is to leave the treaty intact and basically treat this as a one-off and wash their hands of it, and say that this is the lesser of all possible evils.
What do you think, Gigi?
He goes, I mean, the thought of the ivory tower deciding to run into Fairmont and getting slaughtered by the dozens does bring a smile to my face. He goes, on the other hand, I'd really rather not have wolves in my sewers.
Yeah, we see how well that's working.
I mean, the werewolves, I mean, this is kind of going out on a limb here, but the werewolves were and or are content with Fairmont. If something is threatening that and we say, hey, we can help you keep those boundaries, that could be beneficial.
Gigi nods at you, Idaho, and says, he said, outside of this particular incident, he said, we've seen nothing in decades as far as them wanting to leave Fairmont. He said they have whatever their mystical special hoodoo place in there that they're protecting. He said we don't. He goes they don't want to leave that.
Oh, there might be some way to grease those gears then in our favor.
I mean, it's worth a chat. There's no rush. We've got the ammunition. We can choose when to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we know that you have, like, now that we have the information and the proof, and we have the smoking gun, and we have a little bit more cohesion amongst such differing points of view, I say we sit on this for a couple days and maybe pad our chances, build up our odds.
He looks at you and he goes, if you don't want this information disseminated immediately, he goes, I will sit on this. He goes, but
Yep.
He goes, keep in mind that Mariah is also looking for this information, and she's closer than she thinks. He goes, now that I've seen this stuff, she's putting 2 and 2 together faster than she realizes she is.
I think all we'll need is 24 hours. Or, like, should we say 48?
He goes, whatever you want to do. He said, I won't pull the trigger until you do, but this is likely an excellent time period when the messenger is going to be important.
Mariah's the Scourge?
Yes.
Yep.
She
We
never
found her name out. Yeah. We
It's
never found
almost
her name.
like
She never shared her name with me in all the multiple conversations I've had
Yeah,
with her.
same with me. Yeah. We just always called her Joan Jett because she never told us her name.
she looks like Joan Jett.
Yeah.
It would look better on us if we got it out since we were the ones yelling about it.
Mm-hmm.
How close do you think she is to, like, understanding she's got 4?
He goes, the big piece that she hasn't put together from what we understand, and keep in mind that she's been out of sight for a couple days now, has been Victoria. The big question mark that Mariah has not been able to put a thumbtack in, so to speak, has been the connection between Charles and Carmelo. He goes, and frankly, we're still having some problems with that one as well. As he goes, Charles is old. He goes, Victoria's not a spring chicken either. He says, but being completely honest with everybody here, he kind of chuckles and he goes, none of them are on board to handle Carmine. So how Carmine ended up in a bunch of jars and unable to defend himself is a giant fucking question that nobody has an answer for.
It's a great question.
So unless there is some hidden weapon or the Tremere have reopened a brand new chantry and have decided to completely arm the Philadelphia Camarilla with some incredible hoodoo, he goes, it's still a giant question as to why Carmine was taken off the board for that time period.
Why or how?
He goes, well, both. He goes, we've had difficulty, and he seems very grudging when he says that. He said, getting a lot of information about the Hekata. He said, but we also know that despite their tendency to be very insular, that they are also extremely competitive within the family.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, we know that somebody was jockeying for favor with Charles, so we have to assume that there was somebody on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving him like a knowing nod, like we know.
He's dead though. He dead though.
Don't give away info for free, Vic. Elbow nudge.
No, I didn't say who it was. I'm just saying that person is dead now.
He goes, if you mean Carmelo, he goes, that's not likely.
Oh no, he is dead. Forget that. I know. I'm just kidding.
He also says, here's the other thing about it. He goes, we know that, and Gigi points to you, Michael. He goes, we know you killed him in full breach of the Masquerade in front of fucking everyone. He said, we know that the driver went back and picked up the body. He said, we also know that same driver ended up meeting the son the next day. Guess who wasn't with the driver?
The body.
We don't know what happened. He said, he said, it would probably be worth a very large favor to Carmine if that was retrieved for him.
I'd love to find that body.
Though I assume that Carmelo is probably happier if that doesn't happen.
I would love to do whatever is the opposite of what he thinks is happy.
Do you know anything off the top of your head about, and I mentioned the names of our Tremere guests?
So you mentioned all of them or just the missing one?
The missing one.
When you say Adelaide, he goes, never heard of her.
And then I mentioned the other ones.
You say Jean-Baptiste, he shakes his head. Samuel, no. Eugene, no. When you say Marie, he cocks an eyebrow and goes, interesting. Hey, where is this? Where is she?
Who is she first?
He says, there are a lot of people, if this is who you say she is, if she is who you say she is, who would like to see her no longer on this plane of existence. She was, before she became a kindred, she was actually a mage of some renown. After, once she was turned, and how that happened is still a question that many kindred have longed to figure out. Because for a very long time, she was frying our kind.
She was hunting us.
Not intentionally, but there are a number of accounts of her being on the scene and more than a few final deaths. Suddenly she shows up with a pair of fangs and she's skirting a very fine line between old school Sabbat and being a religious hardliner and being a diehard member of the Chantry who just so happens to have all of her rivalries suddenly disappear while she seems to become more and more powerful and more knowledgeable. Can't imagine how that might happen.
Her rivalries, huh?
He goes, needless to say, she's dangerous. She's extremely powerful. He said, and he's like, she's also wanted. He goes, I know as a fact that name dropping her in New York will get a member of the Chantry there to visit you and ask questions. He goes, if you name drop her on the West Coast, the Justicar of Los Angeles is going to show up because her original home was in Hollywood. He said, so if this is who you say it is who is living with you, he goes, I have no reason to doubt you, but I have no reason to believe you either, frankly, given how I find it difficult to believe that you happen to have a horribly wanted kindred with such a checkered past, literally just living in an apartment in your building. That seems improbable to me, but fuck it, life's weird. He said, if she's there, he said, you need to be very careful.
How likely is she to destroy what Kane would say is abhorrent?
He goes, what do you mean?
Sorry, Meta. She's one of the followers of Kane. She's like old school Sabbat, you said?
The implication there being that she was either old school Sabbat or that she was after her conversion, that she was then moved on after that to finding Jesus in the Chantry, which is just a giant pyramid scheme. But
Chantry is like the whole Son of Cain thing.
No,
thank you. Okay, yeah, this is where I'm getting my wires crossed. I'm obviously not in my room. I'm in quarantine right now.
Are you okay?
Yeah, traveled. I went to Florida.
So the Tremere are really interesting within the Camarilla because they're primarily Camarilla were for a very long time, and that the Chantries were basically a giant pyramid scheme amongst all of the different. If you became a member of the Tremere, you basically slaved away investigating magical stuff, finding artifacts, blah 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 blah, and then passing it along and passing it up.
Your superior.
Yeah, attempting to gain more power. They were gaining more power, and all the way went up. A lot of that changed after 9/11 with Second Inquisition because they went straight up. The Second Inquisition basically burned out the Vienna Chantry, killed hundreds of Tremere, laid waste to libraries, just the whole 9 yards. Just did a real number on them, which has left a giant power vacuum. Not to mention the fact that the houses are divided. House Garatrix, House Karna. There's one other one I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. So the two of the houses are still hardcore Camarilla. Karna, on the other hand, have kind of taken a very different tack and tend to actually be more anarch.
Okay.
So the GG kind of shrugs at your question. He goes, I don't know. He goes, the better question, frankly, is, if you've got a nuclear weapon living above you, do you think that when it goes off, it's going to leave you unburned just because you're friends with it? Because she's dangerous.
I picked that up. I already picked that up a while ago. Now I'm just trying to see how dangerous.
We need to point that nuke in the direction of one of our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Take her into Elysium.
Any of her known dislikes living in the Philly area?
He goes, he kind of chuckles and rolls his eyes. He goes, I still don't believe that she's living above you or living near you. He goes, but if she is and she's keeping a low profile for some reason, he goes, it's probably in your best interest to leave her keeping a low profile.
Heard. Received.
GG looks back at the screens that have now flickered back to the information that you guys provided. He goes, I'm not going to release this information until you guys tell me to.
Appreciate that, Gigi. You will be hearing from us much very soon.
He looks at you, Idaho, and he goes, definitely surprised me, kid.
Wasn't me by myself.
We have that tendency.
Before we leave, I'd like to ask Gigi about something. I know that you don't owe me personally anything, and once I share what I have questions about, we can negotiate what that boon or favor might be. And I take out my phone.
As soon as you say that, Gigi is incredibly interested. He's like, all right.
I go and take out my phone, and I want to show him the pictures that the SEPTA worker showed me of the lighthouse graffiti.
He goes, there's been a Nos who has suffered a horrible misfortune that we have been actively attempting to reach out to, who we haven't been able to, who's been putting some of that artwork up. He goes, but when he points to the lighthouse, he goes, that is the first time I've seen that. And that is also not in the same style as the other one. So where did you get that?
I've got some friends that work in low places. And sometimes they see some interesting things. They know I'm into art. So they shared. And I was interested.
Gigi kind of gives you a look and then goes, what are you really asking?
What does it mean? I mean, I've had some visions. I've had some situations, but it just seems to make it even more confusing. And after seeing what I saw with my own eyes being depicted in graffiti, my ears perked up.
He goes, I don't think I'm going to answer your question the way that you want me to answer your question, but I'm going to give you the best answer that I can anyways.
It's appreciated.
He says, I've been on this earth for about 100 years. He goes, my sire, before he took his own life, had been here for 2 or 3 times that long. He said, in nearly 400 years, no one has ever been able to verify any sort of claim about the antediluvians, or Cain, or Lilith, or any other religious figure that the Naudists believe in. He said, I have witnessed with my own eyes some intensely powerful kindred. He said, I have seen things that I would never have believed possible. He said, that still didn't make them Cain, or Lilith, or a Methuselah, or an antediluvian.
Did any of them happen to have the power to disconnect a Malkavian from the web?
He goes, no, but he goes, that's not something that I've even ever heard of happening.
That would answer my second question.
He says, but he looks at you, and he gives you, like, locks eyes with you, and he goes, there are a lot of kindred who like to pass themselves off as messiahs. He goes, none of them have been one. He said, be careful what you believe.
All right, thank you.
As you turn to walk away, he goes, on the other hand, if you actually do end up meeting Lilith or Cain or any of the rest of them, said, those motherfuckers have a lot to answer for.
Agreed.
At this point, I share a agreeable smirk with Gigi, being like, yes, sir. I'm there with you.
He says, I will keep an ear to the ground if I hear anything about this woman that you're missing.
Thanks.
He says, if I hear anything, I will tell Sunny to be in touch with you.
And we know that Romano has been seen alive and like over there, but that was about it.
Raul.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I haven't had an opportunity to share that with you guys yet, but yeah.
The Gigi says, keep in mind, if you sit on this too long and they decide to get out ahead of it and change how the message is going to come across, if they're the ones who get to prosecute this in the court of public opinion, so if Mariah figures it out and decides to do something with it, said you're going to lose a lot of your punching power here. Says
we have nothing but ants in the pants about this.
Mm-hmm.
He says you've got a giant grenade, but you also have a limited fuse on this. He said make the most of it.
Thank you, Gigi.
He goes, you're welcome. Now get the fuck out.
Gladly.
He turns and goes to the rest of the NOS. Sunny shows back up and kind of nods, and she says, I guess I'll show you guys out.
Cool.
Thank you.
Back in the subway station. She nods, gives a kind of good luck. And you guys walk for the surface. After having been underground for so long, when you get up, it is starting to become the first faintest hints of the sky changing color.
We need to hurry.
In the car. Go. Go, 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 go.
Go, go, go. Ah.
In the car, hurry, go back.
On the rush ride back to the club is when I'll tell them what I found out from Sunny regarding Raul.
So, as on the car ride back with everybody with all of this new information. Final thoughts, Idaho.
I mean, it's a huge step. Would love to figure out a way to knock over several birds with one stone on this one.
Or at least set up some dominoes. You gotta set them up, knock them down.
Yeah, same. I think we got a lot of information tonight. I think tonight was, not very action packed, but like we learned a lot tonight. I think that's more than we learned in a lot of other sessions. So tonight, I think just getting a lot of this information that we've been looking for so long, I think was really, really nice.
Alice, final thoughts.
Pretty much in line with Vic, except on the opposite side of that being we've just opened up a whole new huge can of worms, like that we thought was maybe a mini size, and now we found out it's a jumbo size. So, and it also feels like we've got a whole lot of shit being thrown against our wall, and we just gotta catch these different scenarios as we can. So it's a lot.
They just turned the fan on. We're just waiting for the shit to hit it.
Michael, final thoughts.
Trying to figure out who our actual allies are in this fight and who we can count on. Maybe anybody we can like quietly reach out to without really like bringing up too much like smoke. I'm trying to like go over who our like allies are, and I'm wondering exactly how much of a player in his own demise Carmine was, and what does that actually mean for the board?
When the car pulls up to the apartments and you get out, Moira is waiting there with Robin. And she stands there and she looks at you and Michael and you, Alice. And she kind of rolls her shoulders back and she takes a deep breath. She says, I'm in.
Cool.
I'll have to start making arrangements.
So, with that, our session, though certainly not our chronicle, for this evening is concluded.
Awesome.
What are you doing?
Huzzah.
Fantastic.
So,
before I forget, Knox, did the reading up on the and I'm forgetting the word now, but the not a cult, what are we calling it? Zack, do you remember the word?
Lore sheet.
Well, no, it's a group. The group that we discussed.
The one from last year? Hold on.
I'm just forgetting the word all of a sudden.
The lore sheet. She's talking about the lore sheet that you
the Bahari.
Bahari, thank you.
Yes.
At some point, doesn't have to be on stream, but if we could like go over some of that a little more in depth and then kind of what that means going forward for Alice, like how we would incorporate.
Sure. If you want, I mean, we can do that tomorrow.
Sounds good.
You're gonna be on.
I'll be available.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And as a note for everybody, keep in mind that while you're looking to spend your XP, the lore sheets in the back of the book are huge amounts of really cool stuff that do require some amount of story setup, but there's some incredible stuff back there. XP has been awarded BT dubs.
Awesome. Well, it is 9 on the dot, and we wrapped up on time. So I want to thank Knox, our storyteller, Scott, who plays Idaho. There's Zack, who plays Vic, Martha, who is Michael. I'm your Alice. Thank you for being with us tonight for our Vampire the Masquerade Philly by Night session 47. Also, I want to thank John for the 12-month subscription renewal.
Wow.
Damn. Nice.
Yeah. When it came up and I was like, 12? What? But yeah, and also we had 2 raids, one from Frisco and who else? Power Belly jumped in there at the last minute. So thank you guys. John says, "What did I break?" You broke the internet, John. Yeah, that should be everything. I will be streaming tomorrow at noon, Central Standard Time, and I hope to see you guys there. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
You guys hold on, and we'll get you rated out to another friend. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.